We're here at Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire for round 4 of the Thundersport GB Championships for 2015. This show features the Thundersport 500s, the Golden Era Superbikes, and of course the Golden Era Supersport. Bit of a wet start to the day so far, so thrills and spills potentially for most of the grids out there. Let's get some racing underway then. This is Thundersport Plus. Yeah, welcome to Cadwell Park then, round 4 of the Thundersport GB Championships. We move from Snetterton in Norfolk to Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire. As you can see, some of the 500s making their way down onto circuit. We'll be seeing the Thundersport 500s out on circuit a little bit later on. But first, onto the grid, the Sparklight Racing, Golden Era Super Sports and Steel Sports. Grid girls looking a bit chilly there, aren't they? You can see the surface water out on circuit wets the order of the day. Aaron Staniforth on the AS Racing Honda there, one of the riders to look out for in these conditions. Mark Foster, one of the two Fosters out there, of course. Carl Foster, his brother, leads the championship overall. Number 18, there he is, just on the right of your screen, on that yellow Yamaha R6. Number 18, one rider that's missing from the grid this weekend due to injury leading up to it. It's Ryan Cooper. He was 4th in the championship, was testing at Snetterton recently, broke some ribs, misses this round, and so he'll hopefully be back out for Alton Park, which is coming up next. So the Golden Era Supersport field charge up towards Coppice Corner and then around Charlie's onto the park straight, and it's Aaron Staniforth that has the early advantage going into Park Corner. Slightly wide on the exit of Park Corner there was Carl Foster from pole. Didn't get the greatest of starts. Number 142 there is Chris Spink. The wet weather, a leveller in most cases, but we're now on board with Andy Scanlon on the Stubble Racing Yamaha 600. Now Andy ran very well at Donington Park in these conditions, and you can see how horrible it is downhill into Mansfield Corner. This is a horrible corner, probably more so in the wet, and here you can see he's just trying to find a way past Carl Foster. He's in 4th at the moment. He's going around the outside into the chicane. That's brave. Good stuff there then from Scanlon. And there he is, number 24. You can just see him. I thought that was the battle for 4th. In fact, I'm wrong. It's a bit further back than that, I think, as the riders head over the mountain and into Hall Bend. Here's your leader, Staniforth. And no, it was the battle for 4th as a group, but he's in 5th place. Here we are on board with him now then in 6th through Hall Bends. And he's going to have a look at the inside here. Lovely stuff from Andy Scanlon, making up another place. He runs slightly wide on the exit, but you can see how strong he is in these wet conditions. He's made up a bit of space there as they go across the line. Number 5 in 2nd place, by the way. A bike that you might not recognise in this class, but a name that you might do if you're familiar with Thundersport GB. Carl Smalley, the reigning Thundersport 500 champion from last season, is out on a Golden Era Supersport for the first time, and look at him, he's absolutely flying there in 2nd place, right on the tail of Aaron Staniforth. He looks massive on that bike. In 3rd place there is number 78 Nick Colley, and then we should see Andy Scanlon, the orange R6. No, he's just fallen back a bit. He lost that place going into Coppice Corner a moment ago. Robert Goodall, number 75, has taken that. Robert's 2nd overall in the championship, and then you can see Carl Foster there in 6th place. The championship leader is going to lose some points here and lose some ground overall. Staniforth it is then that has the advantage. We've not seen much of Aaron Staniforth before, so he won't take precious championship points away from anyone. Likewise for Carl Smalley, but the pair of them want the win, and Staniforth could afford there a cheeky look over his shoulder as he went into the new chicane. Now into the bottom of the mountain, you can see the clear visor there of Carl Smalley. He said at the start of the weekend to me, when I mentioned about a podium, he said, oh no, I don't know about that. Well, look what he's done. This is fantastic stuff from Carl. He said that his aim was to enter the championship full-time for next year. Of course, Carl now a father as well, so enjoying life. And I'm sure he's been enjoying some of the Thundersport 500 action. I'm not sure if he would really want to be back in that class at the moment. Absolute chaos. We'll see that a bit later on. We've got some fabulous racing coming up here across the line. Now that is a great pit board, that is. Someone hasn't got a pit board and is just holding out pit board numbers. That is budget racing at its finest as they go past the start-finish line there, and number 5 being held out. I'm not really sure what that means, if it's just position. There's Goodall, there's Foster, so your 1 and 2 in the championship are just there in 5th and 6th overall. Mark Foster also in the hunt there, just behind his brother, number 36. This is the battle for the win though. Aaron Staniforth, number 117 out there on the AS Racing Honda, rider from Sheffield. And then Carl Smalley, number 5 from Market Raisin, not too far away from Cadwell Park. Same place as where we know Phil Crow hails from. He's on the BCM and NTS funded racing Yamaha R6. Down into Mansfield Corner then, an off-camber left-hander. Very difficult to get right, but it is a great overtaking opportunity. They've got some traffic ahead of them. Joe Bristow out there on a Yamaha is about to be lapped by the race leaders. Staniforth seems to be very confident with his front end though in these wet conditions, and he flies past into Hall Bends, and that will have fallen just nicely for him because Carl Smalley's going to have to find a way through and past through Hall Bends. And although we've seen overtaking manoeuvres through here before, it's a bit difficult. Aaron Staniforth there really pushing his bike, the Honda there out front, and doing a good job. It's not often, you know, that we see Hondas that competitive in this class. Staniforth here in the wet conditions, pushing his bike. Here he goes, across the line, number 117 ahead of Carl Smalley. He's finally got past that back marker. Smalley has eyes only for Staniforth at the moment. They're both lapping in the 144s, which is actually only 7 seconds off the lap record that was previously set from Mike Horbury, and that's not bad when you look at the conditions out there. Still wobbling about there. You can see Aaron Staniforth just trying to get every bit out of that Honda CBR 600, and then you see Carl Smalley there in second, knee on the deck already. Number 78 there is Nick Colley in third. Nick is from Hull, so not a million miles away from here on the Auto Electric Services Yamaha. And there's your championship leader, Carl Foster from Scunthorpe. Effectively Market Raisin. Carl Smalley is pretty much Scunthorpe way, so got a few riders that hailing from Scunthorpe here this weekend. There is Carl Smalley in second, last year's Thundersport 500 champion, of course, around this very circuit this time last year. He was battling in the sun, I might add, with Tom Leonard for glory and 25 points, but things have come on a bit since then, and now he's jumped onto a 600. Off the rear end, spitting out there from Aaron Staniforth. He really wants this victory, and he's got a lot of traffic to deal with here as he goes across the line with the last lap flag out. There you see number 117. He's got about 6 or 7 bikes to deal with here. Carl Smalley would need a mistake actually from Aaron to get the win. Here is Andy Scanlon. We were on board with him a little while ago, number 24. He's in 4th place at the moment and in a comfortable 4th. In 3rd is still Nick Colley. Here's your race leader though. You'd say that it's a comfortable lead, but watching the way he's riding it at the moment, I wouldn't say anything's comfortable for him at present as he exits the gooseneck and heads down towards Manfield. That's Jack Haverkamp that is being lapped there by number 5, Carl Smalley. Jack, of course, one of the riders that's fighting for the Golden Era Steel Sport Championship, but obviously not as much of a fan in the wet. There's number 11, Thomas Otter, doing, well, he should be a bit better in these conditions, shouldn't he, really, with a surname like that. Through Hall Bends we go. Staniforth then, it looks like he's going to take the win, and he really has pushed the limits here and deserves the 25 points for the trophy that he's surely about to collect. This is where he's got the back end kicking out. He's pushing it all the way. He doesn't even need to bother with some of these tail enders, but he wants it. Through Barn Corner, down the hill. What a great win that is then for number 117. Aaron Staniforth here on the AS Racing Honda picks up the race win here in race 1, ahead of Carl Smalley, who returns to the Thundersport GP paddock and will take home a couple of trophies. Nick Colley is 3rd, and only just Andy Scanlon closed on him in the final lap to finish in 4th in the end. Robert Goodall's 5th, and solid championship points there ahead of Carl Foster. There's the top 3 then. Aaron Staniforth, Carl Smalley and Child, and Nick Colley. And in the steel frame there, it's Dunn, Harvey and Simkis. winner of the Golden Era Supersport here, Aaron Staniforth. Aaron, we woke up this morning to massive rain clouds. It certainly doesn't seem to be too much of a problem for you, though.
Well, I thought it were going to be. I lost it a couple of times coming out of airpin and stuff, but managed to stay on it and keep going.
And have you got anyone to thank at all?
Yeah, Clive at Baxford Garage for sponsoring me this year. Thanks, Clive.
Don't go anywhere, folks. Coming up after the break, the Sparklight Racing Golden Era Superbikes and Street Fighter Extreme. Welcome back to Thundersport Plus here, Cadwell Park round 4. The grid girls are still shivering, but the good news is it has stopped raining. Now there are sections of the circuit that are quite wet. As you can see, Richard Blunt there has gone for the full wet front and the full wet rear, but there are other parts of the circuit that are starting to dry. And it's all about what you brave. Now then, I can tell you that Ryan Strafford has what look like wets or intermediates, something like that. John Dieterman has really gambled here. He's gone for a wet front, I believe, and a slick rear. Now, Mike Horbury's just pulling off the front of the grid there, number 9. I wonder whether he's had a look on the warm-up lap here and has just thought, I've gone completely wrong. I don't want to bother. He's pulled off completely. So the red lights go out, and away we are then. This could be interesting because, of course, John Dieterman leads the championship overall ahead of number 13, Richard Blunt. Dieterman is number 18, by the way. He's gone for a slick rear. Now, I know for a fact that there are parts of this circuit that are still soaked. So who knows what's going to happen. Stay tuned. John Dieterman does lead with that slick rear. Let's see how gingerly he applies the power as Richard Blunt, number 13 on the Portico Racing Kawasaki, is just tucked in right behind him. Ryan Strafford, another rider to look out for in these conditions, of course. Donington Park in the wet. He was the race winner. Number 57 there in 3rd place I'm talking about. Dieterman it is that leads. You can already see his rear end snaking about here, scrambling for some grip, and he's struggling as the full wet tyres of Richard Blunt really pay off in the early stages. He flies to the front now. With there being dry parts of this circuit, Richard Blunt will be totally aware of that and will be thinking in his head at the moment, I need to build up some sort of a lead. There is number 37, Vince Carlton, up ahead of 617. That is Chris Helliwell. Chris Helliwell out there on a bike of Craig Robertson's, actually, so he's on borrowed machinery. I understand that this is going to be the routine now for the rest of the season, so Helliwell on a completely different bike in a completely different championship to what we're used to seeing. A very good rider though, so keep an eye on him. You can't miss him on that lime green Kawasaki. There's Richard Harrison, number 48, ahead of Carlton and then Helliwell. We're now on board with Chris Helliwell on this Kawasaki, and someone runs wide in front of him and he takes full advantage here onto the start-finish straight. There's Nick Williamson, number 6, up ahead of Andy Windsor, then Harrison, then 617 Helliwell, Carlton. 355 is Mark S. And out there also we have a couple of Street Fighter Extreme bikes just to bring to your attention. You'll see Ian Popplewell out there, number 17, he's back with us. Liam Johnson as well, and so we'll keep an eye on there from time to time. Now then, John Dieterman has fallen back to 3rd place. Ryan Strafford has moved ahead, so Dieterman, who leads the series overall, ahead of Richard Blunt and Ryan Strafford, is now down to 3rd overall. There we just saw Popplewell. He's up the head of Andrew Barling on that Aprilia Racing Lines Derby machine. Here's your race leader, Richard Blunt. He's on full wet. Strafford, we think on intermediates. Can't be 100% sure at the moment. It's very difficult to see from the commentary box at the moment. But the circuit is not full of water, so maybe intermediate's the good choice. Who knows? It's a tough one to call. All we know at the early stages here is that John Dieterman, the championship leader, the gamble doesn't seem to be paying off so far. Exiting the mountain and through Hall Bends, it will be slippery through here, whether there's a dry line or not, because the overhanging trees, there's not a lot of sunlight gets to this part of the circuit, and therefore a bit of moss off line here and there. As we see here, these two boys scrambling away, fighting for the race win overall. Here's Nick Williamson. Nick is still in 4th place for the time being. John Dieterman is actually falling into the clutches of that group. Here go the two leaders. Just in the background, we got a quick glimpse there of John Dieterman in 3rd place. Into turn 1 we go. So Dieterman's 3rd, Nick Williamson here 4th, Andy Windsor number 30, 5th, Chris Helliwell 6th, though Chris doing well on that Kawasaki 750, and there's the change for the lead. So maybe the wet tyres starting to drop away a bit now, because Ryan Strafford coming into his own, and he goes around Chris Curve and leads this race. Now, can he pull a gap on Richard Blunt out front and get himself a valuable 25 points here at Cadwell Park for the first race? I'd imagine that those following this race will be scrambling away to get the old dry tyres on now, because from here on in I can't see any races being very wet. The weather forecast is certainly suggesting that. There's a change down into Mansfield. That's Andy Windsor being passed by Chris Helliwell. They exit Mansfield. This is your race leader Ryan Strafford, who has pulled a gap now away from Richard Blunt. In the background there, John Dieterman still in touch just about, but he's a good 6-7 seconds down on race leader Ryan Strafford there. Here's Chris Helliwell up ahead of Mark S, I think that is, number 355 on the Yamaha YZF 750. Beautifully turned out machines in this championship. Across the line you go there, then is Strafford, then it's Richard Blunt. In the background there is John Dieterman. That gap looks like it might have just closed down a bit. Now you can see that it has started to dry out a bit. Now if you can, make sure that your lines are precise, as we see Brad Davey on that wonderful looking Ducati 916. If you can, stick to the lines and you start getting some heat in those tyres, there's nothing to say that John Dieterman can't close that gap down on Richard Blunt. We'll see what happens. There's Mark S, who's now gone ahead of Chris Helliwell. Number 355, Mark from North Thoresby, not far away, highlight the signs Yamaha 750. Here is Richard Blunt then in second place on the Portico Sport Kawasaki. Second overall in the championship, of course the previous champion in this class. That was in 2013. Lee Reevely won it in its opening year, 2012, then Richard Blunt, and then last year of course Shane Pearson, who's moved on to the GP1 Championship. Ryan Strafford is your race leader, number 57. Let's have a look and see how large that lead is as he goes into Hall Bends. There's Richard Blunt in second, and look at this, John Dieterman's closing. The rear slick tyre started to come back to him, but how much time have we got left in this race, and will it come back in time for him? This is race leader Ryan Strafford. I wonder if he's got a pit board. There's 355 Mark S ahead of the Dam Buster 617. Squadron leader Craig Robertson watching from the sidelines and currently being ridden by Wing Commander Helliwell. Across the line we go, and second place gone now. John Dieterman getting the best out of that slick tyre, and the confidence is with him. He moves ahead of Richard Blunt, who's second in the championship. There goes Mark S and Chris Helliwell. This is number 6, Nick Williamson from Southampton. There's your race leader Ryan Strafford. You know what? John Dieterman could win this. The slick tyre in the rear of that bike, he's got loads of confidence now. You can see the amount of time that he will be picking up on the exit of corners will be so dramatic that he might just be able to pick off Ryan Strafford. I can't tell you how frustrated Ryan Strafford would be to lose this, because Ryan, of course, is in his first season in this class. He's got some new parts, a new engine in that SP2 there. He'll have fancied this one in these conditions, but look at this. John Dieterman now can see the prey, and he's going to eat Ryan Strafford alive if he can get within touching distance, because Ryan will just have absolutely no response. And the bad news for Ryan is here, the checkered flag won't be out on this lap. It'll be the lap after. They're coming around into Barn Corner, and they'll see the last lap flag, and I'm not sure Ryan Strafford's going to be able to do anything about that. There's Mark S, number 355 in fourth, ahead of 617. Chris Helliwell. Across the line we go there, last lap flag out now. Unless there's a mistake from John Dieterman here, he can pretty much pick the moment that he wants to go past Ryan Strafford. That's the differences in grip that we're witnessing at the moment. Third and fourth go across the line. Nick Williamson in a bit of a lonely 6th place. He's up ahead of Andrew Barling on the Aprilia, and there you see it, down the back straight. Ryan can do very little about this as he exits. Look at the speed that he's already pulling away from Ryan on the exit there of Barn Corner as they go around the goosenecks, and now just a mistake is what Ryan Strafford is looking for. Chris Helliwell, meanwhile, on the Dan Buster Kawasaki, is just having a look over his shoulder to make sure that he's happy and comfortable in 5th place. It would be a good result, that. So here we go then, your race leader and championship leader, John Dieterman. Whoever decided to go for the slick tyre, to be honest, I looked at that at the start of the race and thought, you're mad. But it's turned out to be a very wise decision indeed. And will we look back to this moment at the end of the championship, if John Dieterman becomes champion, and say Cadwell Park, race 1 on Sunday, was the moment where things all changed? Because this was an amazing decision, very brave, very risky, but it's paid off. Ryan Strafford will get a 2nd place, and 20 points is a good effort, but unfortunately he will be licking his wounds because the race has gone away from him. The checkered flag goes out. Clever stuff from John Dieterman, who picks up 25 points then ahead of Ryan Strafford. Then it's Richard Blunt in third. We just saw Dan Payton pulled over on the end there. I'm not sure what happened to him. Mark S finished in fourth. Chris Halliwell fifth. Nick Williamson finishes in sixth place. Ian Popplewell won Street Fighter Extreme, by the way. But there's the race winner. Let's see who made that choice. Winner of the first Sparklight Racing Golden Era Superbike race of today, and John Dieterman. I'll tell you what, some experience showing there. Decisions like that might just win you the championship. Putting the slick on there. That was a huge gap that you had to come across.
Yeah, maybe experience, but it was my dad's experience who told me to put a slick up back, so thanks Dad. It was pretty dodgy first couple of laps. One at corners was still wet, and I got a bit of a big slide on. Then it started raining. Oh, I thought I made the wrong decision. But it started working for me, and I caught Richard up, and then finally Ryan. It was a gamble, could have gone either way, but thanks Dad, it worked out.
At what point in the race did you think I might be able to win this?
About 2 laps from end.
Fantastic. And so, other than Dad, anyone else to thank?
Yeah, backseating. Toot Win of TW Suspension. He's been helping us a lot with suspension these past couple of weeks, so thanks Toot. Janet, my wife, my dad, my mum, my brother, everybody really, so thank you.
Well done.
Cheers.
The madness that is the Nationwide Traffic Solutions Thundersport 500 Championship is up next. Welcome back to Cadwell Park. It's round 4 of the Thundersport GB Championships, and now it's time for the Nationwide Traffic Solutions Thundersport 500s, including the Senior Cup. Joe Barton, championship leader, is lining up down on the grid. Jack Tynan, what a season he is having, number 96 on the sky blue Honda. And there is Will Leaning. Will Leaning and Josh, his brother, both running very well so far this year. There is Rusty, number 92, Pete Bardell. He should feature. Richard Blunt, another one to look out for, number 13. And we just saw him a minute ago in Golden Era Superbikes. Away we go then from the lines. I took a throat sweep before the start of this race, so that my voice will last the entire distance, because we have had some epic battles going on in this championship so far in 2015. Around the first few turns we go then for the Thundersport 500s. Who will lead? Here we see Jack Tynan on the Park Straight, and he was leading. He's not anymore. There is Joe Barton just pulling up alongside him, and Barton, the series leader, should lead in theory going into Park Corner. There is Jack Tynan in second. In third looked like Richard Blunt. Here we see a packed grid of Thundersport 500s. There's Pat Tynan just going through, same colours as his son Jack. This is now Richard Blunt. We've got a bit of a trick camera angle going on for you here, and he's trying to go around the outside. We're just on board with Richard there, through the gooseneck. Lovely stuff for Richard Blunt, who moves into second place. And now they're all chasing down Joe Barton. They're tripping each other up though. Through Mansfield Corner we go. Joe, don't look behind you. You've got a train, as per usual, through the new chicane here at Cadwell Park. Right, then left, then a short stretch down to the bottom of the mountain, which is slightly uphill on approach. In fourth place there is Sam Smith, number 199 from Flitwick on the Bramwell Relocation 500. Always good to have Sam up there at the sharp end. Number 56 there was Oscar Smith. So here come the leaders through Hall Bend. Joe Barton from Jack Tynan, Richard Blunt, and then Smith. Then it was one of the Leaning brothers. See Rob Morby there in around about 7th or 8th place. He leads the Senior Cups as they go through. There's Jonathan Perry as well. There's Morby. Number 45 then is Chris White, and then it was 27, John O'Toole. There's 142, Chris Spink. Saw him out in the Golden Era Supersports earlier on. Across the line we go. There's 121 and 32, the Leaning brothers trying to bully Pete Bardell into Coppice Corner. Bardell found himself in a Leaning sandwich there. Jack Tynan we're on board with. Pulls out of the slipstream now of Joe Barton down the Park Straight, and Richard Blunt gets the double slipstream. He goes past Joe Barton as well, and now looks to do 2 in 1. It's a buy one, get one free. No, not quite paying off this time into Park Corner. Sam Smith doing very well this weekend to be up there and fighting away with this. Of course, the Source Sam doing so well in this championship just toward the end of 2014, and looks like he might have got things back together again. On board now with the Portico Sport Honda Rob, Richard Blunt. I like this camera angle a lot as they come around the gooseneck and head down towards Mansfield. There's another change there for position in third, I think. Yes, Joe Barton's now dropped back to 4th place as the leaders fly through the new chicane. Jack Tynan leads now, number 96 from Richard Blunt, then Sam Smith, then Joe Barton, then Pete Bardell, and then it's number 32, That's Will Leaning. Josh Leaning is number 121 there, just up alongside Jonathan Perry. Tynan leads through Hall Bend. Richard Blunt following his every single move as they head into that hairpin there, which is a pretty horrible corner, I have to say, but we have seen some last-ditch overtaking manoeuvres before. Still a few damp patches here on circuit, but for the most part dry. They'll have all gone for the same tyres. They're road-going Bridgestone tyres that these guys use in the Nationwide Traffic Solutions Thundersport 500 Championship. Across the line we go there. Elbows from number 32, Will Leaning, and Pete Bardell, who closes the door there into Coppice Corner. Further back there is number 17. That's Blue Jay Dave Moss. And then, of course, we've got to number 6 there as well, Jordan Watling from Donny. Number 21 and 68 is James Lee and Clive Mindham. Jack Tynan leads from Richard Blunt, Sam Smith and 106 Joe Barton as they exit Park Corner and come around Chris Curve. And there's a bit of a gap now forming back to Jonathan Perry. On board again with Richard Blunt in second. This just shows you how good the gooseneck is. You on your knee on the right and then it just dips downhill into the left. A fantastic corner. And then leads you down into Mansfield. Excellent overtaking opportunity, and he left the door open there to Richard Blunt, and Sam Smith has taken it. But as he lost the momentum, Richard Blunt's going to try and take it back now. Around the outside into the chicane, doesn't work. He stays in third. That's Sam Smith, who's just lost a bit of ground now on the exit. Wasn't quite perfect through there, but he does stay in second place. Brilliant racing here from the Thundersport 500 as ever. Then we're going to follow him over the mountain. There we see, oh, Blunty. Brilliant stuff there. The front wheel didn't hit the ground until just before he tipped into Hall Bends. Showboating in front of the crowd there standing in the clubhouse. Here's Blunt, then he runs wide, going into the hairpin and allows through Joe Barton. You have to be careful of Joe. Joe leaves his racecraft until the final few laps. And that's part of the reason why he's leading the championship by so much at the moment. But what brilliant racing here at Cadwell Park. You would not want to be forced into picking a winner here. Along the start-finish straight, and there's another place being dropped there. That's Will Leaning, who's just gone up the inside of Richard Blunt into Coppice Corner. They now go into Charlie's In. Blind entry into Charlie's Out. Dips downhill, off camber, can catch you out. And then onto the Park Straight. Further back, this battle going on is for pretty much 8th place onwards, including Rob Morby, who leads the Senior Cup, and now there's a change for the lead overall. Sam Smith, for the first time this season, leads the Thundersport 500 pack around Chris Curve and into the gooseneck. There's Chris White, followed by John O'Toole. Number 62 is Daniel Otter. So some fantastic racing going on here all the way through the field. Even the guys battling for 28th down to 32nd are elbows to elbow at the moment. Through the new chicane we go. Sam Smith leads, and then it's Jack Tynan. Joe Barton, the championship leader's in third, number 106, red bike. 32 is Will Leaning, got the advantage of his brother Josh for this weekend so far. Then in 5th place is Richard Blunt. Pete Bardell, number 92, Rusty there in 5th place. He's doing everything to try and keep up with this group and potentially get himself in with a chance of getting a podium, but at the moment he's not close enough. Smith leads from Tynan as they exit the hairpin and into Barn Corner. Have to be careful through Barn Corner at the moment. It is very much one line because you go slightly offline and it's very damp and a bit slippery. Across the line we go, and that's the biggest lead that we've seen for anyone so far today, ahead of Jack Tynan, but it won't be for long. Joe Barton third, Will Leaning fourth, then a bit of a gap back to Richard Blunt, who made a mistake a moment ago and has allowed Pete Bardell into him. Here we are in second place, then on board with Jack Tynan, number 96 out there from Reading, and he loses that. He loses second place, he loses third place as Joe Barton and Will Leaning come through, and Joe's now closing up on Sam Smith as well. It just shows you what a bit of slipstream can do in this class, especially if you can get double slipstream, and Sam Smith has made a massive mistake there and has gone wide. I wonder if he'd gone into the damp stuff, but he's gone from first down to third and has allowed Joe Barton through. In fact, Joe's now second place. There's another change. Sam Smith is flying down into Mansfield Corner there. Surely he'll run out of... Oh my God, this is unbelievable. Sam Smith, what are you doing there? And he nudges the two wide and they go straight on. Sam Smith is going motocrossing here and he's having the right scuffle with Joe Barton. And this has allowed Pete Bardell and Richard Blunt back into the picture again. As it stands then, that must surely leave Will Leaning with a bit of an advantage out front after what's just happened there. Through Hall Bends we go on board now with Jack Tynan. That's Sam Smith and Joe Barton up ahead of him, who just went straight on at the new chicane. So it is 106 there in second place. Joe Barton ahead of Smith, ahead of Tynan, then Blunt, then Bardell. This is your race leader then. Number 32, Will Leaning, across the line. He's got a good 7-8 tenths of a second there over Joe Barton. Jack Tynan now moves into third place. He's got past Sam Smith. Pete Bardell has got past Richard Blunt. This is just unbelievable stuff, isn't it? Number 45 there. Going across the line is Chris White, followed by Daniel Otter, but that's John O'Toole, number 27, going past on the Campbell's Racing Honda. Those guys currently battling it out for 9th place overall. Rob Morby, by the way, is in 8th and is leading the Thundersport 500 Cup overall. Here we're on board now with Richard Blunt, and he is trying to make up some ground. He's certainly looking good here. He's got past Sam Smith. Now he hunts down Pete Bardell as they head into Mansfield. Brilliant line, that one from Richard Blunt, and he will close in. Jack Tynan is then just up ahead of Pete Bardell on screen. Oh, and it's a bit of smoke puffing out of the back there of Pete Bardell as he closed the throttle into the new chicane. Rusty there might have some bike issues. Oh, it is puffing away, isn't it, as they go into the bottom of the mountain and over the top of the hill. Will Leaning it is, though, that still has this advantage. He's done well to maintain that gap back to championship leader Joe Barton, who has been so strong this year. There's John O'Toole leading the battle for 9th, ahead of number 45, Chris White. Then there's number 56, Oscar Smith. Sorry, they're leading the battle for 10th. I can't keep up with this. The last lap flag is out. Just behind that group, by the way. We've not mentioned them yet. James Butcher, Lewis Osler and Dave Grace. Riders who on their day can fight for race wins and at the moment are fighting for the remaining points here in the Thundersport 500 Championship. We're now on board again with Jack Tynan, number 96, and up alongside him comes Rusty Bardell, number 92, into Park Corner. Nicely done. Here's your race leader though, number 32, Will Leaning from Scunthorpe. We've got a big crowd, big family, friends all here watching the Leaning family race, both Josh and Will and their dad Mark as well, all racing here this weekend at Cadwell Park. Down into Mansfield we go. Will Leaning still leading from Joe Barton. That's Bardell running a bit wide though. Here we're on board with Jack Tynan in 4th, and now into the chicane. Here we go, out of the chicane and into the bottom of the mountain. This is the battle for 3rd place. In the background there is Richard Blunt. I say in the background, he's right on top of him. In the background is Sam Smith. Then on the exit of the mountain and up over the top of the hill, Jack Tynan now trying to get a bit closer. And is he going to have enough room to go up the inside into Hall Bends? No, not quite. They then tip right, then left into Hall Bends, then uphill and downhill, right, then left again and into the hairpin here. Oh, that's a nasty one. And that's Pete Bardell has gone down. He's lost the front end, and that's on the change of direction, still on the brakes, going into the hairpin. I just wonder if he'd hit a damp patch or something. But the last lap is gone, and Will Leaning wins it here, number 32, and that's how much it means to him. Championship leader 106, Joe Barton finishes in 2nd place. What a race from the Nationwide Traffic Solutions Thundersport 500s again. Jack Tynan is 3rd, Richard Blunt 4th, Sam Smith 5th, and Jonathan Perry in 6th. But the entire grid really can pat themselves on the back for some brilliant entertainment so far this year, and it's set to continue. There's the top 3 then, Will Leaning, Joe Barton and Jack Tynan, and it's Rob Morby winning the Senior Cup again ahead of Dave Moss and Stephen Hall. Winner of the first Nationwide Traffic Solutions Thundersport 500 race of the afternoon. Will, it was a bit bittersweet for you over at Snetterton last time out, highs and lows, but this class is fantastic, and you really capped off a brilliant race there with a very good win.
Yeah. First and foremost, just like to thank my mum, dad, brother, girlfriend Beth, everyone that's come out to support. It makes it so much better, and your home round, that's what you need. You need a bit of support, and only from 35 minutes down the road, so it's even better the win. But yeah, in the race, Sam Smith was leading it for a good while, and I was just sort of on the back wanting to get on, and he had a bit of a moment and took Joe with him, so I got the lead and then just kept my head down and tried to make the best out of a bad situation for them. But luckily for me, it come off, and loved it. I loved every minute of it.
Looking forward to the race too?
Yeah, see if we can do a bit more of the same, hopefully.
Well done.
Thanks, Steve. Cheers.
winner of the Senior Cup, Rob Morby, defending champion. You seem to get yourself in some great scuffles and some great battles, whatever circuit we're at. No one can quite beat you though in the Senior Cup just yet.
No, Colin's had a bad weekend, he's injured himself, so he's not racing. He's been my nearest competitor for a long time, so I hope to see him back at the next round. But no, I enjoy racing with the other lads as well, so you never can let up. If you let off for 1 minute, you just go backwards and you can't start going forwards again, it's impossible. So yeah, excellent racing, fantastic circuit, fantastic club.
A few people to thank?
Yeah, the main one I forgot last meeting. I've got some sponsorship after I don't know how many years. Silk Clean have given me oil for the year and it's absolutely fantastic. I didn't ask for it, they just came in the shop and he said, oh, I'll help you out for the rest of the year. And it's a great help, any small help means you can do more practicing, more testing, so thank you very much.
Well done.
Cheers, bye-bye, thank you.
Good news, folks, we've got another one of those coming up at the end of the show. Stay tuned for that. After the break, it's the Golden Era Supersports. Welcome back to Cadwell Park. Now we reach the second round of races for the Sparklight Racing Golden Era Supersports. Here's number 18, Carl Foster, the championship leader. Struggled a bit in that first wet race, so he'll be pleased to see that, well, the sun's not out, but it's dried up. Here's the race 1 winner, Aaron Staniforth. Then Mark Foster, brother of Carl, currently following in his shadows. I'm sure he'd like to reverse that at some point in the season. There's Carl Smalley, number 5 on the left. You just saw Jack Haverkamp, number 19, leader of the Golden Era Steel Sport Championship as well. Keep an eye on them when we can. Look to the lights then, the lights go out, and a good start this time from Foster. Well, at least it was better than race 1. It isn't hard to beat that. Number 1 going through there is Neil Harvey from Stafford, who won the Steel Frame Championship with Derby Phoenix last year, which is why he's carrying the number 1 plate. I think I said a couple of rounds back that question why he'd got number 1 on. He soon gave me a slap about that. So Neil has got the number 1 plate on for that reason, although he's suffering a bit this weekend. He had a massive crash this weekend and damaged his ribs. Here though, going a bit wide is Alex McFun from London. And that's not much fun for him at the moment. Here we see Andy Scanlon on board with him, absolutely flying through the gooseneck and then downhill, making up some decent ground. That camera just looking on the inside of his screen, and he's moved up into 4th place, just behind there Carl Smalley. But it's the Foster brothers that are 1 and 2. Carl Foster leads from Mark Foster, number 18 and number 36. 5 is Carl Smalley. There's the winner from earlier, Aaron Staniforth. Just ahead of him is number 75, Robert Goodall. Here is number 2, Sam Nicholson from Nottingham on the Motorpoint Derby Yamaha R6. Sam currently in the top 6 overall in the championship. There's your leaders then. Andy Scanlon looking good on top of them at the moment. Talking about number 24, Orange Yamaha R6 currently in 4th. Here's your race leader Carl Foster, already building up a handsome lead over his brother there, Mark. And there's Robert Goodall, number 75. Jack Haverkamp, number 19, leads the Steel Frames. Number 19 up ahead of Chris Spink, number 142, who's second. Chris Spink on the black bike at the top of your screen. They're about to come past us now. Here's Jack Haverkamp, number 19, 142, Chris Spink. Then number 79, just going through next to number 2. 79, James Want, ahead of Sam Nicholson as they head up towards Coppice Corner. Carl Foster, though, looking to extend his championship lead, heads around Park Corner, a good couple of seconds clear of his brother Mark. Then it's Carl Smalley in 3rd with a rather impatient looking Andy Scanlon in 4th place on that Yamaha. We're on board with him now, though. Here we see he's just closing up on Carl Smalley through the gooseneck. Downhill we go into Mansfield. Will he have a look up the inside? Yes, he will. Last on the brakes, and he moves up into 3rd place. Good stuff there then from Andy Scanlon, and now he sets his sights on Foster, number 1. Oh, he's going wide though in there. That's not clever. Oh, well, that's not really going to make you up any time, and he does lose 3rd place. Andy Scanlon there running out of room going into the new chicane. So having done all that hard work to get past Carl Smalley, he's going to have to do it again now. But he's going to have to be careful because Robert Goodall, number 75, has just closed up on him as well. And so Robert, who's second in the championship, might just sniff a chance here of 4th place overall. Into the hairpin. Now further back, that's number 94, that yellow and blue bike just going through. That's Phil Page. Phil having a run out on a Honda. He's been in just about every class Thundersport GB has ever introduced. Phil, who does a lot of work behind the scenes to help Thundersport GB, having some fun out there. The leaders go through then. It's Carl Foster leading from his brother Mark Foster. Always amuses me as we see a change there. Robert Goodall going ahead of Andy Scanlon. Always amuses me seeing Carl and Mark Foster on the podium, because Carl makes a point of really enjoying his victories, and his brother Mark just looks so down in the dumps and constantly getting beaten. But one day that might just turn around, and I'm looking forward to seeing the day that Mark gets his own back and just seeing what sort of celebrations we see, and whether the smile on Carl's face will be turned into a frown. As it stands at the moment though, Carl has a lot to be happy about. He is doing well in the championship. We're on board now with Andy Scanlon through the gooseneck, following Robert Goodall up ahead of him, down into Mansfield again. Now this is what happened last time. Oh, this time, unfortunately though, he won't get a chance to go straight on at the chicane, because he's gone down into Mansfield corner, front end washout, and sadly just a bit too much work put into that move from Andy Scanlon. He was pushing his luck the lap before, wasn't he, going into the chicane. Andy Scanlon out of the race. So this is your race leader with a huge lead. Number 18 there, Carl Foster. Mark Foster in second place. Carl Smalley in third. Number 5, rider from Market Raisin. Then in fourth place is 75, Robert Goodall from Chichester on the My Security Systems Yamaha. This is not over, this battle for second place overall. Carl Smalley looks pretty hungry for that, and Robert Goodall has in the last couple of laps really closed on the pair of them. So we go across the line. Carl Foster on the yellow Yamaha R6 is out front. In fact, this is very much a Yamaha fest in this race. Into turn 1 there, and Carl Smalley has decided to completely cut out Coppice and Charlie's, and is probably going to try and join up with them on the Park Straight. I can tell you that's a long way round. Carl Smalley then exits the scene and might appear somewhere soon. That's not great news then for Carl. I wonder where he'll reappear, because it is a long way over that hill to rejoin the circuit. We'll find out in a moment. So then, this is the new battle for second place. Here, further back, we see number 79, and that is James Want up ahead of that battle going on for the steel frame win between Chris Spink and Jack Haverkamp. This is now the battle for second then between Mark Foster and Robert Goodall. So Robert Goodall, who was down in 6th, remember, earlier on in this race, he saw Andy Scanlon go down in a pile. He's seen Carl Smalley go straight on at Coppice. I wonder if he's got some sort of spell put on some of the riders that are around him at the moment. Next up, he's going to try and cast one on Mark Foster, but he won't be able to do an awful lot about the race winner. Coming around the final turn, he looks like he's going to take the win, and Robert Goodall has gone ahead into second place. There's going to be 1 lap remaining then. Last lap flag is out. Carl Foster goes across the line. Here's Robert Goodall into second place ahead of Mark Foster. So every time Mark Foster's had a chance to get himself second place overall, he's been robbed of it. Goodall into second overall. Across the line there is number 79 once again. James Want leads on the A1 press racing machine. There's Martin Bloomfield, number 28 from Tarpauli on the EB Racing Yamaha. And the battle for second continues. Mark Foster, does he have an answer? Does he have a response for Robert Goodall here in the closing stages? There's number 11 and number 1. Number 11, Thomas Otter against Neil Harvey. Neil, another rider from Stafford on the TNR Honda. And here is your race leader, just going through some traffic there, and that was a nasty crash just on the exit of the chicane. And that was 38, Alex McFun, British Army rider, who's gone down on the exit there of the chicane. And already Carl Foster celebrating. I wouldn't do that, Carl. I've seen that go wrong too many times before in the past. Although he does have a big lead. There is second place rider Robert Goodall. Then there's Mark Foster in third. So there's Phil Cox and number 96 Ian Evans. Good to see those guys out having a decent battle. And already he's waving to the marshals. Carl Foster has it in the bag, Lorenzo styley, waving to the marshals on the exit of the final corner, and he takes the checker flag and extends his championship lead. Robert Goodall's done well there to take second, limits the damage done to him in the championship, and Mark Foster, who's currently 9th in the championship coming into this weekend, will be happy with 16 points there in third ahead of Carl Smalley, who did well to recover to finish in 4th after going off circuit. Staniforth 5th, Nick Colley in 6th, and there's the top 3 then. Carl Foster in the middle, Robert Goodall on the left, Mark Foster on the right, and in the steel frames it's Jack Haverkamp, the winner from Chris Spink and Paul Simkis. Look at the championship standings then. That's now a 119-point lead for Carl Foster over Robert Goodall. Andy Scanlon is third despite that fall. Sam Nicholson fourth, then Bloomfield and Cooper. And in the steel frames, it's Jack Haverkamp that leads, but only by 22 points. Ahead of Chris Spink, Brad Davey, Neil Harvey, Rick Saville and John Dunn. Winner of the Sparklight Racing Golden Era Supersport, Carl Foster. Carl, championship is looking good. This weekend has had its ups and downs with the weather, but you've always been there or thereabouts.
Yeah, slightly slow in the wet, but thinking man's game, self-preservation and all that, save it for the dry. So it's going good, quicker than I've ever gone round Cadwell on anything. So I don't know what's gone right, but it's going my way at the minute.
Friends, family, sponsors to thank?
A big thank you to Robert Gower, helps me out a lot. Other than that, I've no sponsors. I get a little bit of help from Barry at the Hydro Hotel in the Isle of Man, and a little bit from Pete at Shed 25 in Scunthorpe. If any sponsors would like to help out, it'd be gratefully received. But the friends and family, the three boys, Josh, Luke, Kieran, and my partner Sarah, because she's fantastic support.
Winner of the Steel Sport, Jack Haverkamp. Jack, I can see that you got a few scrapes on your leathers here. You've won this race, but tell us what happened yesterday.
I was winning yesterday, got a good start, getting better starts as the season progresses. Came up against a back marker, chasing a guy in a championship that's not even in mine, but I wanted top 4 overall. Took the front, biggest crash of my career, but the old man fixed the bike and we're back out winning today.
You're hobbling around a bit, so hopefully your men quick ready for the next round next month.
Yeah, I'm men quick, don't worry about that, I'll be back.
Anyone else to thank?
Just the old man again, fixing the bike. If I'm not blowing it up, I'm crashing it. Motorcycle Tyre Services Nottingham for helping with my tyres. That's everyone.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, coming up after the break, it's race 2 for the Sparklight Racing Golden Era Superbikes. Welcome back to Thundersport GB here at Cadwell Park. The sun has made an appearance as the championship front men make their way onto the grid. There's Richard Blunt, number 13 on the Portico Sport Kawasaki 750. There's still a gap on the front of the grid. Richard Stedman was racing with us here yesterday but isn't out. John Dieterman, thumbs up, looking very happy after that race win from earlier on. This could be a different race. Slicks on for all riders at the moment. Just saw Ryan Strafford there, number 57, Borat as he's known in certain parts. Across we go then to the lights and they go out, and it's a decent start for John Dieterman, the championship leader, as he already tries to pull away from Richard Blunt. Blunt is going to have to try and keep that lead of John Dieterman's down, because that could build and build. He's looking very confident this year. Dieterman leads from Blunt, and then Ryan Strafford to the top 3 of the championship are all there. That is not the fastest way around Park Corner though. 182, Andrew Barling has gone the long way around, and he'll rejoin at Chris Curve, but he'll rejoin in dead last. There is Andy Windsor, number 30, up ahead of Richie Harrison, then Vince Carlton, 355 is Mark S, and there is the Dan Buster 617 of Chris Helliwell. You can just see Ian Popplewell there, number 17, going through, leading the Street Fighter Extremes. Paul Cunvin is also out in this one as well, number 81, leading the championship so far in the 2015 season. Our Royal Air Force rider, who was lucky to even be here this weekend. He broke his foot a few weeks back. There he is, just going through Hall Bends behind Chris Helliwell, number 617. There, number 20 as well on the yellow and red, and brilliant melee is Andy Chalice from Peterborough. 37 is Vince Carlton from Market Racing on the Moto 46 VCR Ducati. Number 8 on the melee is Gareth Skinner from Hurst Green, another British Army runner. And across the line we go, Mark S, who normally turns up for the odd Cadwell Park round. There are the 2 Street Fighters, 81 Cunvin leading from Ian Popplewell, then it's Chalice, but out front this battle continues. John Dieterman takes the lead into Park Corner ahead of Richard Blunt, but has he run wide on exit? We'll see in a moment. There's Andrew Windsor, number 30, on that silver and red Suzuki on the AEW Motorsport sponsored machine. Number 17 there, Poppy, on the light and cooler Suzuki 1200. We're on board now with Chris Helliwell, Wing Commander Helliwell, going around Chris Curve and into the gooseneck. Just up ahead of him there is that wonderfully turned out Yamaha YZF 750 Mark S, but it's now behind him because it's a good move from Chris Helliwell, who moves forward. You've got to believe that with a bit more track time on that Kawasaki 750 that Chris Helliwell could be fighting for podiums in the not too distant future, and maybe getting his name up there with the likes of Dieterman, Blunt and Strafford. Strafford, of course, who's currently dealing with a new, well, technically a new bike that he's got underneath him here for this weekend, and it's not going to happen overnight for him. I think you're going to see him gradually getting closer to these boys out front, but they are in a world of their own at the moment. The lap record, 1:33.5, Chris Martin, still stands at the moment. So they're not far away from it. In every other circuit that we've visited so far this season, lap records that have been previously set from Chris Martin, lap records that have been set from Ian Simpson, former British champion, have been absolutely destroyed by the likes of John Dieterman and Richard Blunt so far this year. The pace is hot at the front of the Sparklight Racing Golden Era Superbike Championship, and I've got to say that from a neutral perspective, I hope it goes all the way down to the final round. It certainly did for Richard Blunt in 13 when he won the championship. Remember that, back at Donington Park, both he and Rob Wilson were going for the championship, and boy oh boy did Richard Blunt leave it until the last minute. Rob Wilson cleaned up there, and Blunt had to finish in 4th or 5th, I think, in both races. Did it by the skin of his teeth to take the championship. At the moment, Dieterman has the advantage overall in this championship. It only takes one mistake, doesn't it? And things can be turned around at each Thundersport GB event, with the exception of Alton Park, which is a one-day event coming up next. There are 100 points available in each weekend for the Golden Era Superbike Championship. And so we'll see how they fare in Alton. At the moment, Richard Blunt doing a good job to hold off Dieterman. It's Kawasaki versus Yamaha. Two wonderful looking machines. That's the thing I must say I love about this championship, is these bikes still look very nice indeed. And there's a lot of effort and time gone into keeping these bikes looking in pristine condition. Further back here is 48. That's Richard Harrison on the melted sliders Suzuki up ahead of Windsor. Then number 617, Chris Helliwell. Considering it's his first time on that bike, it's a very good job indeed. It's a completely different machine to ride compared to a 600 that he's been rattling around circuits for the last few seasons. We're on board with Chris now. Just up the inside of Mark S into Park Corner. No, Windsor it is. He's just gone up the inside. Nearly lost the place again because he ran slightly wide on exit, but he's regrouped, and Chris Helliwell here is on for another top 5 finish. Easier leaders though. Richard Blunt now, as he started to gap Dieterman by a 10th or 2. Just a bit of air between the two leaders as it stands. Richard Blunt on that last lap, a 1:34.4, 1:34.6 for John Dieterman. So Dieterman really going to have to work hard to try and claw back those tenths on Richard Blunt, who over the last couple of rounds has looked very strong. Snetterton last time out was an excellent weekend for Richard, not just in this championship but in the Thundersport 500s. And don't forget, Richard's race comes up after this, and when I say after this, I mean literally. The last lap flag is out here. Richard Blunt will have to come into Parc Fermé, will have to park up his bike, and then literally jump onto the Thundersport 500 that's being held by his dad. So if Richard makes the podium, I understand his dad will have to take his place on the podium. We'll have to speak to him later, which, well, we may be getting an interview from him. We'll find out shortly. Richard Blunt at the moment has the advantage. John Dieterman is there in second. He's not close enough to make a move, but he's close enough to take a win should a mistake appear from Richard. This is Ryan Strafford, who's having a bit of a lonely one at the moment in 3rd place. He's 11 seconds down, no, 17 seconds down on the two riders out front here, but he is in turn a good 14 ahead of Chris Helliwell. Oh no, he's not actually. Chris Helliwell at the moment is going to have to try and get past Richard Harrison. Richard Harrison is there, and there's the move into Mansfield Corner. He runs wide, and he's just about managed to get it to stick. So Chris Helliwell could be on for 4th there ahead of Richard Harrison. That one might not be over until the checkered flag. Meanwhile, out front, Richard Blunt here, just a couple of corners left to take 25 points. And on Sunday, it looks like the wins are going to be shared between Dieterman and Blunt There's nothing to split them here at the moment in the championship. Race 2 goes to Richard Blunt across the line on the Portico Sport Kawasaki, and he really liked that one. It's not often you see emotions like that coming from Richard Blunt. He really wanted that win ahead of John Deaton. Stratford takes third, Chris Helliwell with a solid fourth, and then it's Richard Harrison fifth and Mark S in sixth place. Good job then from those guys, and there is Blunt Senior, Dave Blunt, picking up Richard's trophy, the winner overall. John Deaton still leads this championship by only 49 points ahead of Richard Blunt. Stratford is in third place, not far behind Richard himself there. Windsor is in fourth, then Dick Williamson. In the Street Fighter Extreme, by the way, Cunvin won that race, and he leads the championship there ahead of Nick Riddle, Stanier, Liam Johnson, Adrian Teasdale and Kevin Harrell. Street Fighter winner Paul Cunvin, back-to-back races. How was that for you?
Yeah, it's hard work. Harder work than I thought it would be. I was playing football a week and a half ago and I broke my ankle and tore a load of ligaments in my foot, so we didn't even know I was going to be able to ride, so back-to-back races weren't ideal, but you know, it's not too bad. The bike's been a bit of a nightmare, but just took it easy and didn't go too far, and yeah, won the first Street Fighter race, come straight back through and straight out for the Extreme race, and then the first 2 laps everyone beat me up and I'm well too tired for this. So I just relaxed and waited for them to settle down and then got them back, or most of them anyway. So yeah, really happy. It's been a really good weekend.
Good job. Anyone to thank?
First of all, Adam Pearson and Steve Kaplan for fixing my exhaust, bodging my exhaust this morning. Cheers to them. And Pitty's Custom Vinyls and everyone in Team RAF as usual.
Winner of the Golden Era Superbike Race 2. You missed out earlier on, obviously adverse conditions this morning, but Race 2, what a race that was. And of all the places to find an overtaking manoeuvre, over at the mountain probably wasn't top of our list.
Yeah, I seem to be quickest in all the places maybe that people say you shouldn't be overtaken. So yeah, over the mountain was one. I tried going around the outside of him into the second corner as well, and it's pretty quick to say the least, and going off camber all of a sudden as well. But yeah, I like racing with John because I can race nice and close, and I'm not too worried about him taking me out all the rest of it. And yeah, it's a good close race, and love it. Excellent.
Solid weekend for you, and a few people to thank.
Yeah, massive thanks to everyone who comes and helps. Pearson's been setting up my bikes, spends countless hours getting the thing sorted. Eric at Equa Motorcycles, who lets us use the shop and all the rest of it. Massive thanks to Phil also, who's been supplying the bikes and helping us out all this time. So yeah, Portico Sport, Helm, brake lines, Rock Oil. I think that's about all of them, I'm sure. Oh, and DP Pads as well, who've been helping us out. Yeah, massive thanks to my dad and obviously everyone else who comes down and helps. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, he'll get himself back out on circuit, and we'll be back after the break for Race 2 for the Thundersport 500s. Welcome back to the final part of Thundersport Plus, Nationwide Traffic Solutions Thundersport 500 Race 2. Can't wait for this one. I've taken a deep breath. There's Jack Tynan. We'll have the camera on him. Don't forget about championship leader Joe Barton on the HB motorcycles. Honda there. On the right of him is 32 Will Leaning, of course, who capitalised on 1 or 2 errors going on earlier on and then managed to hold on to that lead for a couple of laps to take the win. Who will be victorious in Race 2? Well, you're about to find out here at Cadwell Park. The sun is shining and we're ready to go racing here at Cadwell Park as the Thundersport 500 packed grid heads uphill towards Coppice Corner. Jack Tynan, it looks like, will get the whole shot here into turn 1. He does, just ahead of Joe Barton, and then they'll head down the back straight, having dealt with Charlie's in and Charlie's out. Here we're on board with Richard Blunt, who's actually in second place. He's not for long, and he's in fact now down to 4th. Joe Barton has gone past him on the right, Pete Bardell on the left. Leading the race is still Jack Tynan as they go through Park Corner. Then the Leaning brothers are there, Will and Josh. Will is number 32, Josh 121. There's Pat Tynan just having to sit up. That's Jack's dad. Number 94 there is Joe Miller. He's relatively new, well, pretty new to this class, and he's getting himself quicker and quicker all the time. There's Jonathan Perry. Nice to see Jonathan starting to find his way back to the front again. Of course, a regular on the podium last year out front there. That nearly was carnage into the chicane. Jack Tynan having a major wobble, then sitting it right in front of Joe Barton. There's Sam Smith. There's Rob Morby, 53, leader and champion of last year from the Senior Cup. Then it's Chris White, number 45, and then 62, Daniel Otter. They fly through Hall Bends. These guys all in the points just about. There's Lewis Osler as well, up ahead of John O'Toole. Dave Grace, number 7 as well. And around the final corner, they're about to head into the final corner. That's the hairpin there. There is Lewis Osler, number 82 from Wakefield. And I'm sure he'll be looking at getting himself back up the sharp end as well. It's coming, don't worry about that, Lewis. Into turn 1 we go. Joe Barton now leads. On board with Tynan, flying through Charlie's exit there. And here we see, look at that momentum he's going to carry. He pulls out of the slipstream and goes up alongside Joe Barton. This just gives you an exact example as to what the Park Straight looks like. It's not a straight at all. They're 3 abreast, heading down into Park Corner. And here comes Pete Bardell to lead. And Jack Tynan goes from 1st to 3rd. Richard Blunt here is there. Oh, elbows there from Will Leaning and Jack Tynan. And Jack Tynan gets pushed well out of the frame. And now he's looking up at Joe Barton. Brilliant stuff there. They're practically pushing each other off the circuit. Will Leaning has decided that he'd like to win another race. Oh, and Jack Tynan! Oh, he's pushing his luck on this race. Earlier on wasn't his fault. He pretty much got pushed out of the way by Will, but that there could have been curtains for him in this race. Well, look at them bunched up. It's Bardell now that leads from Will Leaning, Richard Blunt, Joe Barton, Jack Tynan, Josh Leaning, and then number 42, Jonathan Perry. Behind Perry is about half a second back to Sam Smith, number 199. Here is Rusty Bardell, who went down in race 1 around about here and managed to get himself back up. Joe Barton there, just having to sit his bike up and whack on the brakes. Number 142 there is Chris Spink up ahead of Clive Mindham. Chris you just saw a little while ago in the steel-framed Golden Era Super Sport, and now he's out in this race as well. Brilliant fun racing this, and the great thing about it is that these bikes are so cheap. Although, get your hands on one if you can. Everyone is queuing up to try and get in this championship at the moment. There's George Watling and Neil Watson. 17 is Dave Moss from D-Side. Number 80 further back is Owen Graves as well. That's number 80. Charlie Oakland's up there with them. We're on board now with Richard Blunt, though. Looked like he might go up into the lead and has to settle for 4th as they go into Park Corner. Barton it is then that leads the championship leader, who despite the scrapes and the elbows always manages to get his nose up in that top 3, and that's why his lead is as it is in the championship. Pete Bardell leads it though from Barton, then Will Leaning. On board with Jack Tynan though, who's gone from 5th up to 4. You're now chasing down Will Leaning. Will he try and get his own back from what happened a moment ago into the chicane? Not quite this time. Single file for the time being. Then into the bottom of the mountain, Pete Bardell leads it. There's Richard Blunt, just up behind Jack Tynan. Then it's Josh Leaning as well. We're on board now with Blunt, who gets a lot of air over the top of the mountain, then through Hall Bends. This gives you a good example as to how quick they actually go through Hall Bends. Downhill a bit here, slightly off camber. This is where Bardell went down. Off camber again into the hairpin before going into the slippery barn corner. Single file once more, and then try and get into the slipstream on the start-finish straight. Bardell lead from Joe Barton, the series leader. Then it's Will Leaning who's trying to get slipstream and move into 1st overall. Bardell was 1st, but not for long. Barton now lead. Will Leaning is trying to get up there, and here's Jack Tynan going around the outside of Will Leaning. He'll have the inside line then for Charlie's, and he moves up into 3rd place. Good move there from Jack Tynan, number 96, and he's finally looking at another podium place again, having been practically barged off circuit over at Chris Curve, and now he's going to move up into 2nd place. He's got double slipstream there because Pete Bardell was in the slipstream of Joe Barton, and so he's going to have to watch himself on the brakes now into Park Corner, because when that happens it's easy to outbrake yourself, but Bardell says no you don't, I want that back again. Pete Bardell leads once more ahead of Jack Tynan, Joe Barton, then it's Richard Blunt, and look, this is happening all the way down the field. There's James Butcher from Brentwood. His dad was the runner-up in the championship of the very first year Thundersport GB ran it. Good old John Butcher. That was in 2009. Jonathan Harrison won it that year, brother of Richie Harrison, who you just saw out in the Golden Era Superbike class. Here we go then. It is Pete Bardell that leads, number 92, from 96 Jack Tynan, 106 Joe Barton, 13 is Blunt, and then the 2 brothers. Will Leaning leads Josh Leaning, 32 over 121. Then it's 42 Jonathan Perry. Sam Smith not quite able to keep with the group on this occasion, so he's out of the equation. one of these guys is going to have to actually face the fact that they're going to finish 7th, which is going to be disastrous. It's 9 points for 7th. It's 25 for the win. And look at them all, they're so close. Across the line we go again. Pete Bardell so far with the advantage, ahead of Joe Barton. Is it? Yes, just in 2nd place, but Jack Tynan is there, trying to hang it round the outside and closes the door on the front end of Joe Barton. There we just saw going through was Rob Morby leading the Senior Cup. This is James Butcher 108 being overtaken by John O'Toole. Lewis Osler's getting his elbows out there as well. But now back to the front. Bardell was leading, not for much longer. See you later, says Jack Tynan as he pulls out of the slipstream, but someone's slipstreaming him as well. This is the great thing about this championship. Joe Barton, just as you think you've got to the corner in front, someone pops their nose right underneath you, and it's that man again, Joe Barton. Here we're now on board with Richard Blunt, who's in 4th place at the moment as we go through the gooseneck. That's Pete Bardell just up ahead of him. Behind him, he's got a couple of Leaning brothers that are hungry for podiums. Will Leaning, who won the race earlier, and Josh Leaning there, who runs out of circuit, goes onto the curbs and almost onto the grass, and somehow manages to keep on board. Here we now are on board with Richard Blunt, who's got a good bit of drive out of the chicane and will have the inside line into the mountain. Nicely done there from Blunty. He moves into 3rd place then, ahead of Pete Bardell, and now they'll try and set their sights on Jack Tynan and Joe Barton. This is the nitty-gritty part of a race. This is where your racecraft has to be perfect, because you're getting to the closing stages. If you're in 7th or 8th at this point now, your chances of winning are very slim indeed. But at the same time, if you're actually leading this race, you are the danger man, because you have a huge target on your back to try and slipstream. On to the start-finish straight we go. Still a couple to go as yet. Joe Barton it is that leads. Now Joe of this group probably the most likely to be able to break away. He's been able to put in some seriously quick laps. He's very clever at this. He's done it all year long. There's Sam Smith and Chris White, those guys at the moment. We saw Rob Morby there as well, 8th, 9th and 10th. Jack Tynan then we're on board with. Look at the difference of it of slipstream, mate. Unbelievable stuff there from Jack Tynan, who really is able to get out after. That all comes from Charlie's. He's carrying so much speed into Charlie's out, which is turn 3 here at Cadwell Park, that in turn is giving him so much speed on the back straight. Add to that a bit of slipstream, and hey presto, you have a new race leader. Now on board with Richard Blunt, who's moved into 3rd place, having gone round the outside of Pete Bardell into the gooseneck. There's not many people that I know that are able to get that done. Casey Stoner was the first I saw pulling off a move into the outside of the gooseneck. It's Jack Tynan though that leads for now here in the Thundersport 500 race, ahead of Joe Barton, who just pulls the tear-off strip off his helmet. There's Will Leaning and Josh Leaning, 32 and 121. Josh so far not showing his cards just yet. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to, because 5/10 down is a lifetime in this class. Jack Tynan leads through the whole bend and into the hairpin. Watch this as they come out of the final corner. They'll all be in tow, the train, trying to get slipstream from each other. The last lap flag is being prepared then. Here we go. Who's your money on? Jack Tynan leads across the line ahead of Joe Barton, and Richard Blunt looked in a good place there in 3rd overall. Then there's a bit of a gap back to Pete Bardell and Will Leaning. At the moment, we're on board with Richard Blunt. He's gone slightly wide there, but carrying brilliant corner speed, trying to get himself some slipstream. He might even get a bit of double slipstream here. He's got to now place himself behind Joe Barton, and he does. Now he gets in the slipstream of Jack Tynan as well. He's going to go the long way round here, and let's see if it works. Richard Blunt, number 13, and Joe Barton's there, and Pete Bardell out of nowhere comes from 4th into 2nd place, and we've brought Will Leaning along with him as well. I thought that was going to be so good for Richard Blunt. As it turns out, he's down in 4th place. This is Jack Tynan in 3rd, sorry, and now he's down to 4th because Richard Blunt does it again. He goes up the inside into the gooseneck, and Tynan now getting them back. Oh, look at them all crossing over each other. They're allowing Joe Barton a bit too much room out front, I fear, into the chicane. They're all so desperate to have a nibble at him out front that they've forgotten about him. And look at that, that might just be it. That could be curtains for the rest of the field in trying to catch that up in the closing stages. Now they're just going for podium places. Up alongside him there as they wheelie over the mountain, Richard Blunt trying to find a way past Pete Bardell, number 92, who's desperate to be on the podium, having fallen earlier on. But Joe Barton, the series leader, time and time again he does this. It's magical from the man on the HB Motorcycles, number 106. They exit Barn Corner, and another brilliant race ends here. Joe Barton wins, and it's Pete Bardell that will take second place ahead of Richard Blunt. And Pete Bardell, it's going absolutely crazy. These guys all belong in a mental home. Joe Barton it is that wins from Pete Bardell. Richard Blunt third, Jack Tynan fourth, Will Leaning finishes in fifth, Josh Leaning in sixth place. Well, what a fine example of motorcycle racing this championship is. And there's the happy three on the top steps. In the Senior Cup, Rob Morby wins again from Stephen Hall and Dave Moss. Championship standings, Joe Barton in charge. 112 points now, his lead, ahead of Jack Tynan, Richard Blunt, Jonathan Perry, Josh Leaning and Will Leaning. In the seniors, Rob Morby in charge of that one as well. It looks like he might retain that title. He is 134 points clear of Colin Mooney. Hall is third ahead of Moss, Mindham and Nick Turner. Nationwide Traffic Solutions, Thundersport 500 Race 2, Championship leader Joe Barton. You've done it again. A fantastic race. There were 7 bikes fighting for the lead. On that last lap, you just managed to get a gap there and there was no turning back.
Yeah, I felt quite comfortable with the pace. I knew it would be battling from the word go, so it's a case of just do as much as I can from the start, stick with everybody and then bide your time a little bit towards the end. And I knew when it was just me and Jack out at the front, well, that's what it seemed like to me, that I was happy with the pace and I was just sort of planning a time to make a move on him. So managed to do it on the last lap on the back straight because I didn't want to be leading onto the back straight because slipstream would just punish you down there. So yeah, really happy I managed to stay in front. So. Brilliant.
Well, I know that you've got a lot of people to thank and there's a lot of support here for you as well this weekend.
Yeah, massive thank you to all my friends and family that have come down. My dad, my girlfriend, my sister, brother-in-law and all the kids as well. Thank you very much for coming. Also a big thank you, HB Motorcycles, STG Performance, Ian at Classic Race Replicas, and Phil Doody as well, when's he going to make his big return. Can't wait to see him back here, so yeah, thank you everyone, cheers.
Well, what an excellent round that was here at Cadwell Park. More racing action coming up then for our next round. Alton Park in Cheshire is next month. We'll see you then.